this is what we have. Okay, it's the elephant in the room. Okay, really what we're talking about. These are the items. We'll talk about really what ageism is. We talk about it. Do we really know what it is? I'll talk about the perceptions of ageism. We'll also, explore some of the signs that ageism really exists, because it does. We'll talk about how companies get rid of the older workers. And most important, how do you combat ageism? Okay, how do you use it as a strength? We'll talk about that. How to find a job today. Excuse me. With ageism, the types of jobs that you can find, and how to avoid ageism on your resume. Briefly, we'll go over that, and then we'll just wrap it up. Okay. If you have any questions, and I'm on in one of the slides that would be applicable, just shout out your question. If not, put it in the chat, and in the chat, just preface it with the word question, and then put your question in it. And Joyce Gibney, who is my right-hand person on this, and really serves this organization extremely well. She will interrupt me when need be, and I allow her to do that. And then we could also, at the end, if it's more appropriate, we'll do it at the end of the presentation. Okay, everybody, let's get into it. What is ageism? It exists today. And what it is discrimination. And don't be fooled. It is discrimination. The federal government today defines discrimination as follows. When a person is treated unfairly due to race, national origin, gender, disability, religion, sexual orientation, or age. Any of these items, if people are experiencing any of these, it's discrimination, and the individuals or the companies that discriminate because of any of these, including age, are subject to lawsuits and fines. So keep that in mind. I do not necessarily recommend a legal path, but you should just be aware there's a legal path to for these items. Ageism, it's, today a lot of people talk about it, but really ageism was first discussed in 1968. And when you look at it, that's over 50 years ago, ageism. And the phrase was coined by Dr. Robert Butler, who at that time was a Columbia University grad. And today he's the founding director of the National Institute of Aging. And through his research, what Butler found was this: ageism is the systematic stereotyping of and discrimination against older people because they are old. Well, looking at that, the question becomes, what's your definition of old? Okay. I've asked this question on different times I've made this presentation. The numbers varied. The youngest number that I received, when someone said they experienced ageism, was at 35. 35. So keep that in mind. Some people talk about ageism being the gray ceiling, and I'm proud to be part of that. I've earned every one that I have. This is what it's all about, everybody. Now, ageism, now that it exists, the question is, and people say you're old. How do you really, look at that? And what happens, it's really a perception. It's a perception by others of you. And what they perceive when they think of ageism is this: that you are less motivated than the younger workers, that you are less willing to engage in training, that you resist change. These are their perceptions. You're not healthy. Well, let's look at it today. Vaccinations are saying, the older generation gets them first. Okay. You cannot adapt to new technology. This is extremely important in today's environment. You cannot relate to younger workers. And you cannot work with younger people. You are no longer creative, and you are not loyal to your employer. Now just look at all these things. And are you saying to yourself, this doesn't apply to me. This isn't who I am. There's one other one that they talk about, and this is the key. You demand a higher pay. That might be the case. It may be the case. Not always the case. As we get older, our needs and our wants change. But the perception is, if you're older, you're going to demand a higher pay. So these are the perceptions that people have when they think of someone being old. And I ask you to think about it. Is this you? Is this you? Think about it. Now, in places, ageism exists. It does. A lot of people say, not me, it doesn't affect me. Well, listen, in the different companies, this is what's happening. Companies are hiring only younger employees. They're promoting mainly the younger employees. The training and development, those opportunities are only given to younger employees. It seems like you're sitting on the sidelines during these times. They plan activities, but it's generally for younger people. And the employee handbook, this is a good sign. The employee handbook addresses a lot of different discriminations, disability, race, religion, okay? But it doesn't talk about age. Another thing that you have is that older workers who used to have really stellar performance evaluations, they're now harassed more for things that other people do. If you're late, if you're absent, if you're ill, why? What, are you okay? Is anything wrong? Are you sick? Do you have anything going on? Think about it. And one hint that you could find is if you look at a company's website, and on the website, all you see is younger people. That's it. They don't have anyone our age in there. Just think about that. These are generally some of the things that you would recognize, okay, when you have ageism. And there's also certain things that, if you're interviewing or talking to people about different companies, ask them some of these questions, okay? Because maybe that organization is really discriminating against age. You should be aware of it. Companies also, they get rid of the older people. It's job elimination. Yeah, well, through technology, number of jobs have been eliminated. That is correct. But sometimes they eliminate other positions. And surprisingly enough, 3 or 4 or maybe 5 months later, those positions they find unnecessary and they come back and now they're hiring somebody for that, even though you've been in that position, let's say for 20 years. They have layoffs, and the layoffs is generally the older people. You get reprimanded for things that other people do, just like you, but they don't get reprimanded. Your performance reviews are not as great as they used to be, even though you're doing just as good a position, job as you did before. You know, sometimes it's, well, you have to retire now. If you don't retire now, you're not going to be able to get your pension. And they offer early retirement packages. There's a mandatory retirement age. You have a reduction in job duties, reduction in hours. Think about all these things. Did this happen to you? Promotions are generally given to the younger people. Okay. And you get further harassment that you didn't get before. Now you might think, well, maybe this happened to me, maybe not. I could tell you this over here. My brother, but he was a teacher and he retired early. Why did he retire early? What the school system said is that people who retire at the end of this year, whenever they had, will be able to have their pension at their current rates. After this year, however, for every year that you work, your pension will be reduced. Okay, that was one thing that happened. Another thing, this retailer, who I know, a very reputable, okay, recognizable jeweler. They have these little boxes that women always like to get. It's like a turquoise type box. And what they did, they have a year end of January 31st. And really this season, the holiday season begins on November 1st. They told workers the following: if you are 50 years old and you have worked for the organization for 10 years, or you are 55 years or older and you have worked for the company for 5 years, we have this one-time offer to you where we will pay you X, we will cover a certain amount of hospitalization for a period of time, et cetera, okay? If you accept the package now, by November 1st, it was offered in October. If you do not accept the package, we cannot be assured that your job will be in existence at the end of our fiscal year. Okay. 826 people were offered this package. 821 took the package. The other 5 that didn't, in February, their job was eliminated. Okay. Well-known organization. If you go into their stores now, you will see that the average age of a person is generally under 35. So keep these things in mind. Now, That's the bad news. That's the reality of what's happening today. If that's the case, what do we do? How do we fight it? How do we use age to our advantage? Think about this. You gotta have a positive attitude, everybody. Yeah. You have to have a powerful elevator pitch. You also need a powerful resume. You have to have a really powerful LinkedIn profile, which includes your picture, professional picture. Okay, really just a headshot. In LinkedIn, if you have a picture, you are recognized 70% of the times more than people without a picture. Okay, it's a big piece of their algorithm. You need a clear focus as to what you want to do, where you want to be. You need energy. You have to communicate that you're healthy and you have energy and you're willing to do lots of things. What's also very key is to be up to date in technology. Now, that does not mean you need to know every single, piece of technology. You have to be aware of certain things. Certain things would be a minimum, like Excel, Word, things of that nature. You need a list of target companies. And these target companies, you want to watch out for those that are discriminating because of age. You want to have a fresh look, that can be, in your hairstyle, it could be in the clothes you wear, it could be in the tools that you use, okay? You want to project a youthful look. And you want to look for a reasonable compensation package. These are the things you want to do to combat ageism. How do you present your age as your strength? Well, look at this. You want to show people that you're steady and reliable. You're going to show up to work all the time. You know what has to be done. You have the experience to get the job done, for the responsibilities. You're also, you've been battle tested, so to speak. Okay. You want to have a strong work ethic. You know the job has to be done, and you tell people you're here to get the position done. You could also, when it comes to showing that you're physically fit, talk about, you're a hiker, you're a runner, you're a golfer, play tennis, whatever you want to, say. You want to weave this in generally when you have your interviews. Okay. You could tell them that you like to mentor others. You're loyal to the employer. You're not a job hopper. And that you're up to date in technology. And what you can do on that, you could talk through it. But also, if you want, there's certain things that you can do to wear. You wear it. You could wear, a Fitbit. You could wear, an Apple Watch if you could afford things like that, or a Samsung watch. Okay, Google Watch, whatever you have, just wear it. Okay. Carry a tablet with you when you go in. You don't have to be an expert on a tablet. Just when you go in, say, is it okay to take some notes? If they say yes, turn it on. If they say no, well, turn it on and then turn it off. Show them that you know how to use it. Okay. And tell people that you're accustomed to working with people in other age groups. Give them some stories of when in your past, you've worked with different people. Let them know you have the maturity to focus and get the job done, and you don't have these distractions. You're not worrying on, Wednesday who you're going to go out with on the weekends, things of that nature. Okay, let people know that. But use these things to really show your age has its benefits. And finding a job today under these circumstances, you gotta be positive. As I say, you want to look young. Okay. You want to look for young, growing, or startup companies. Now, why do you want to do that? Just think about it. The young companies, they need to develop organizational structure. They need people who've been there before, who could help guide them through the growing up stages. When as startups, you have the experience to help the company grow. You know what has to be done. You know how to how to organize the organization. So look for these companies where they could really use your talents. Okay. Also, look for depressed or relocating companies that need stabilization. Now, what I mean by that, look, if a company is relocating out of the area, it doesn't happen one day. It happens over a period of time. And, they have the situation where, some people say they're going to go with an organization, they're going to relocate. Other people know they're not, and they're going to be jumping ship soon. And if they have a stay bonus, they can, stay around for a little while with a stay bonus, but at the same time, is their heart in the job? If they're not going to stay, they're going to be looking for other positions. So if they're going to be out there looking for another position, the company needs people to hold down the fort, to get the work done. Okay. If it's a depressed company, if they need a turnaround, they need people with experience to turn them around. Okay, people have done, that's my specialty, has always been to turn around organizations that are depressed and make them more efficient, okay, make them more effective, and, I calm them down. I've been there before. There's a lot of stress in these organizations. And so I could step in and really, make people feel at ease and then point them in the right direction. When it comes to relocating of companies, I had a friend, she's a colleague of mine, and what happens is that she was at work, went into a company to help them in their SEC reporting. They were moving from New Jersey down to Florida. And they said initially it was going to be only for a quarter to get them through the SEC work for that quarter. Well, their move took longer than expected. And she was there for over 2 years working for them. And finally she said, look, I've done enough of this stuff. Now you're really gonna have to find somebody to take over for me. And they wanted her to move down to Florida, but she didn't want to accept it. Okay. So this was gonna be a temporary three-month gig, so to speak. And it was over 2 years because they needed her. You also could look for companies that hire multi-generational personnel. Okay. These are the companies that recognize that people who are older have a lot of experience and they could handle many, many things. It's the old thing, if when people tell you you're overqualified, these interviews, I love that question. You know, when people tell you, well, you're overqualified for that. The good thing, you can tell them this. You know, if you were in an aircraft and you took off and flying over the Hudson River, do you want an experienced pilot like Sully Sullenberger, who had over 30 years experience at the controls, or would you like to have a pilot who is just out of flight school? Which one are you more comfortable with? And I think it has its impact to tell the organization what you can do. Okay? Play up your experience. You know, have your success stories. Okay? Put it in your elevator pitch on how you have created value for an organization in the past, and give examples. Okay? Show them that you've done that, and show them that you've recently done that. Okay? Use the current terminology that people use today. You know, I used to come in and talk about, you know, it used to be as easy as sliced bread. Well, today, when you say that, it's like, well, what do you mean by that? You know, I know when I was growing up, you had to slice your own bread, and then they finally invented this where they would slice it automatically. So that just ages you. Okay, stay current in your profession. It's really, really important for you to be up with the latest pronouncement that's going on in accounting, and also the latest technology. Be savvy in the Microsoft products at least. You know, you could also on pivot tables, you know, that's also helpful. Okay, if you have those, you know, you can be on Twitter, know things on Zoom, know the other platforms that they currently have for communication. It's not only Zoom. You have GoToMeeting, you have Skype, you have Microsoft Teams. There's a couple of other ones that are out there. You got HangUp. So Hangout, I guess it is. You know, just be familiar on what they are. You don't have to be an expert at those. When it comes to Twitter, you might not tweet, but have a Twitter handle. Okay, it shows you're up to date. And if you look at Twitter, if you have a Twitter account and start following the threads, there's a lot of positions that come through Twitter threads that might be of interest to you. Use LinkedIn, you know, have a complete profile, a professional picture. And what I recommend you do is have a lot of recommendations, current recommendations, okay? You know, let's say within the last year. If you have a recommendation that's 2 years old already, how valid is that, somebody who's going to read it? So try to get as much as you can on recommendations from people you know, things you've done. You could always consider temporary or part-time employment today to get out there and show you stuff. When you interview with people, I suggest you interview like a consultant. Now, part of the interviewing process, you have to ask questions. You have a responsibility to ask questions. Make the interview a meeting, okay, just as a conversation. Don't make it an interrogation. So you want to ask questions throughout the interview, and ask the W questions. These are the questions that cannot be answered by yes or no. You might want to do your research on the company, and you see that they're launching a new product. So you can, you know, indicate when do you feel that the company will be launching this product? And what would be the impact on the organization? What do you consider a successful launch? What will be the impact on the different parts of the organization if this launch is not successful? Those are the type of questions you want to ask. Use your professional organizations for networking. It's networking, networking, networking. What you also want to do is look at your past and present colleagues. You know, if you haven't contacted people in your network in at least a year, contact them now. It's great. It's easy. You don't know what they're doing today. It puts you back in their mindset. It's out of sight, out of mind if they don't hear from you. And it's pretty easy. You know, I've been thinking about you lately in these crazy COVID times. Just want to know what's going on. What's your current status? And then you could have a nice conversation. Yeah. You could always volunteer. Volunteer, there's no gatekeepers around. Yeah. You generally meet the executives at times, and there's no gatekeepers, and you volunteer the same mission generally that you're at. Okay, do your exercise. Okay, stay physically fit. And surround yourself with younger people. You know, you can do that, you know, when we started meeting again. I know now the gyms are starting to open. So you can meet people at the gym, you know, at seminars, etc. Okay. Join some of the groups where they have younger people. They get to know them, get to hear what they have to say, get to hear what their language is. Okay. Now, in considering jobs that you want today, consider these things. Maybe if you've always been working for a large corporation, well, maybe think about a small and medium-sized company now. Because these companies in the past didn't have the opportunity to hire people like you. Okay. At the same time, the large organizations today, through the technology that they've had during these lean times, they have less positions. They might still be hiring now to replace certain people or to bring new people on. But overall, the positions are generally limited. Where you have small and medium-sized companies, they are creating new positions today for, you know, for people like you, because you have the expertise that they want, which they never were able to afford before. You could choose a private company or a public company. You could look at a full-time or a part-time position. You could also be a consultant. You could own your own business, your own store. You could look to work for service-related companies. In today's economy, that is big today, service-related. And some of those you want to look at these. You know, you're going to have a not-for-profit. Okay, they also need people like you. But in the service-related businesses, you know, you start looking at it, you have things like healthcare, you have green energy. Okay, those are some that are available today. You got healthcare, the green energy that I talked about, education. You know, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to be a teacher, okay? Or you have to be a healthcare worker. There's the back offices. They need accounting people, finance people in here. So think about these other positions that are available to you. In technology industry, okay? These here, service, but they always need some of the basic things that other companies need. They need marketing people, they need salespeople, they need finance people. So think about that as you go through. Now, what I did, this was, last year, so to speak. I looked at it and said, all right, ageism exists. And people are having problems finding jobs because of COVID. What are the jobs that are currently available? And I went to the expert. I did a Google search. And my Google search was, what are the popular jobs for people 55 and over in today's marketplace? And these are some of the jobs that came on page 1. Administrative assistant, paralegal, office manager, teacher, driver, tutor, event planner, tour guide, travel agent, nurse, medical assistant, physical therapist, personal financial advisor, accountant, bookkeeper, insurance agent, real estate agent, dental hygienist, EMT, dietitian, chef, website developer, writer, and fundraiser. These are all on a page. I had over 8 pages of positions that you could look at. Now, looking at it at this point, these 3 really have been suffering during COVID. The event planners, they really haven't had a lot. Tour guides, almost non-existent. Travel agents, very, very minimal. We are in the process of coming out of COVID. As a result of these jobs are starting to pick up again. Yeah, but then you look at the other ones, service, 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 service. Okay. A lot of service jobs to think about. You don't have a lot of manufacturing any longer, but look for what is out there, what's available to you. How do you avoid discrimination, age discrimination on your resume? You want to emphasize the last 10 to 15 years. That's the important thing. Now, I say emphasize the last 10 to 15 years. I say that because you want to list prior experience so that there's not a void and there's areas for people to question, well, where were you? What did you do before that? What did you do before that? This gives it a full disclosure type situation. And what you can do is that list the companies that you work for the last 10 to 15 years and have the bullets of the things that you have achieved at these organizations. And then at the bottom, have a caption, a section called prior experience. And all you have to do, you can list the company name and the position that you held. You can put the dates if you want. I recommend you do, but maybe you don't. Okay. At least by doing that, the name of the company and the position, people who read your resume could see your progression through the ranks. And it's very helpful. You want to have a section that highlights your achievements that are still relevant today. If you did something back in your career that was really, really good, think about it. Is it still relevant today and what you've achieved? Or is there another way how to do it today that's much easier? Okay. So if it's much easier to do today and it's not that much relevant, you don't want to have it up in the achievement. You want to have up in achievements things that you have done to increase the value of an organization, okay, that is still relevant today. Don't leave with dates off your resume, and I mean college dates. Okay, a lot of people say, well, you know, I'm gonna hide my age. Let me tell you something. Anyone on this meeting here, I could generally find out your age within 10 minutes. It's out there. It's out there. Do Google searches. You can find it out real quickly. Okay. Why hide it? You know, show it. Because what happens if companies are going to discriminate against you, why go there in the first place? You know, why say, well, maybe they'll hire me. Do you want to work for a company that discriminates against you? I wouldn't. So if you're going to leave your dates off and somebody does call you in, first thing they're going to look at is how you look. They're going to ask you questions. Okay, and there's going to be a surprise. And as finance people, I know we don't like surprises. So that's going to put a negative to start with. And if they are an organization that will discriminate against you because of age, okay, you're going to spend the time there interviewing with them. You're going to spend the time prepping for the interview, okay? And they're not going to hire you anyway. So why spend all that time? So just consider that, okay? List your competencies that are relevant today. Have a section called core competencies. And what you want to do is use today's email addresses. Stay away from AOL. There's a connotation AOL is old. Now, Gmail, you could open up a special Gmail account just for your job search if you want. Just set it up, okay? And you know, this way you could control everything you do in your job search through one email address. And when you put your numbers, your phone numbers, do it this way with the dots. Don't use the parens, don't use the dashes. This is how people, the younger people, put out their numbers. So use this type of format. Okay, and show on your resume your LinkedIn, and if you have your Twitter handle, your address is on your resume. Okay. With LinkedIn, you could put your URL if you have space. This way they could go right into your LinkedIn profile. They're going to look at it anyway, make it easier for them. If you're going to show your Twitter address, they're going to look at it and say, hey, this person's really up on technology. You're starting to deal with, you know, the mind, so to speak, okay, where people, their minds are looking at certain things and then they perceive in their mind what it's all about, okay? You see this? Boy, this person's up to date in technology. And avoid on your resume what I call, you know, numbers of years in industry, especially in your profile. When you're going to start your resume up in your summary, 30 years experience, bingo, you're old. Okay, so think about that when you go through it. Just to wrap up, ageism exists today. And don't deny it, it exists, it's out there. More and more than you realize, okay? At the same time, what you have to recognize in dealing with ageism is the perceptions that others have of you that you have to change, okay? You're not healthy. You cannot work with younger people. You're inflexible, okay? You don't want to be trained, okay? Things of that nature, which is not necessarily the case. And you're too much money. Well, may not be. You just have to come up with a reasonable compensation package. Present your age as your strength. Use your experience. Okay. Show people what you have done. Okay. Show them all the value you have created for different companies. Okay. Let them know that you are well focused on the organization. You've been there, you've done that, and you're going to be able to do it for the organization. And they don't have to train you to do it. You know how to do it. They don't have to invest in training at that point to get you started and get you to successfully do what they want you to do. Develop your tools and your targets, the powerful elevator pitch, LinkedIn profile, resume, okay? Select your target companies, find them, make sure that, the signs of ageism do not exist. Talk to people at these target companies. Check on ageism. Look for the positions that you want, okay? That is key. If you find something you want, you have the passion to do it. That's what you want to look for, and that's what they look for in you. Examine the different types of jobs that are available today. Check it out. You'd be surprised. What I call ABC, everybody. Always be connecting and connected to your network. Okay. Always be connecting to new people. Reach out to new people. And at the same time, stay connected to the people who are currently in your network. Let them know that you're thinking about them. You could send them an article. You could send them a birthday card, an e-card. You could just, call them up and have a chat with them. Virtual coffee meeting. And remember, everybody, ABP. You always have to be positive. Negative and depressed people do not get hired. And you always have to be prepared, because you never know when the opportunity will surface. It could happen when you're in the grocery line. It could happen when you're at the hair salon. Okay. It could happen when you're in your religious organization. It could happen anytime. And so be prepared. That's where you practice your elevator pitches. Okay. So where you can tell people what you do. And remember, the two most important words to carry with you, I think in life and in search, I think both, it's these two. It depends. Networking, there's no rules to networking. There's some etiquettes, but no rules. And so what happens is that you have to be creative, but the actions that you take are really dependent upon the circumstances at the moment and what has happened before. So things are unique, just as you are unique. And so you have to, really be quick on your feet, so to speak, and the actions that you take are dependent upon what's happening out there. So think strategically, everyone. Okay. That's really important. Remember this. If you want to land, you will land. You just have to keep on pursuing it. That's what's important. It's stressful, it's depressing at times, but you got to get up. You have to, plow ahead, and you have to stay focused, because everybody lands. This is my contact information. If anybody wants to contact me, I will be sending out the slides to the people who are here today, probably in the next day or so. But if you want to, call me up or email me as to, some issues you may have, you want to talk to me about some of the services that I could provide to you on a one-on-one basis, I'm more than happy to discuss it with you. I'm here to help you land. Okay, that's what I'm here for. Okay. Joyce, do we have any questions?
No, Marty, looks like nobody's put any questions in the chat.
I'm surprised at that. Anybody have any questions? Is anybody still awake?
Marty, I have a question.
Go ahead.
For the one you mentioned about, I think it's Tiffany's, and there's no one.
I didn't mention anything about Tiffany, Mandy.
Right. No, I was just thinking for the major famous jewelries and the chain, and there's no class action going against that.
Well, let's just say, you have to look that up. Okay. I'm not one to say which company it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm not denying what you say. Okay. But, you have to look and see, companies have big legal departments. And so as a result of it, it's very difficult, okay, for one to bring a lawsuit because it becomes very expensive. Okay, so you have to consider that. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's something that's kind of frustrating.
Yes, it is. It is. But there's some certain things you have to learn, and then you have to stay away from certain places, and it happens. This is life. Does anybody have any questions? Come on now. This is your opportunity.
Can I ask a tough question, Marty?
You could ask any questions you want, tough or not.
You promise?
Yeah, I promise that I'll let you ask any question you want. Go ahead.
How old is the picture that you showed us at the end of your deck?
Oh, but that one?
Yep.
How many years ago do you think it was?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
I won't.
That picture is about 5 years old.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Those are really difficult questions. I should have such other difficult one. What else we have? Nobody. Okay. Let me ask you this. All right. How many people in their resume do not show their college graduation day?
I don't.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask those who have raised their hands, which I do appreciate, why not?
Someone told me not to put it in. Someone was advising me on the resume is my reason.
Okay. And the reason they gave you?
It wasn't very necessarily convincing to me, but it helped with the topic of today with ageism, that when you put the date, you're just highlighting when you graduated.
Okay. Now
And
let me ask you this.
I'm fairly convinced by that I should add, because to your point, you can kind of figure it out. But anyway.
Yeah, you sure can. Okay. Yeah, whatever year you graduated, you had 22 years. And I can get real close as to how old you are. Okay, just look at it that way. Now, just when you fill out your job application, okay, what does it ask for when it comes to education?
Are you directing that one at me again? If you're
Anybody.
The year you
Okay.
graduated.
Institution and year.
graduated.
Yeah, institution and year. Yeah.
Okay, so it's there anyway. All right. So think about that.
I have a question for you. I have a question for you,
John.
Marty.
Go ahead.
So if the purpose of the resume is to get an interview, right? I mean, that's the general purpose of a resume. So
Whoa. Okay, got it. The general purpose of a resume is to get an interview. All right. Okay, I'll go with that.
So if you put your college graduation in there and you're old, okay, then they can just screen that out.
Yeah.
I mean, if they know. If they don't screen you out, you have an opportunity to at least present your case.
Okay.
And so that's the thing. I mean, it's like location, right? If I'm in Boston and they want a person in New York, they're going to screen you out. So it's an opportunity, or I think I'm looking at it as an opportunity to get my foot in the door where they would, screen me out otherwise.
Okay, let me
I
ask
don't know
you
if that's
this.
true or not. That's what I'm
No,
asking.
no, no, look, and this is, everyone has, there's no rules, okay? Let's go, there's no rules, okay? That is how you think about it. On your resume, you don't have your college graduation date. Do you list your first job?
Yeah.
You do. And what's the date?
I don't have dates.
You don't have dates.
No. I have my prior experience was Deloitte and American Express and whatever. And
Okay.
But the thing I do have, and this is, I have an MBA that I got like significantly later.
Okay.
So I include that date.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now let
Right?
me
So
ask you
it's- and that
something.
MBA was probably 10, 15 years after my undergraduate degree. So at least I
Okay.
put that age, and that gets their mind to say, well, this is the age of the guy. But I'm
Okay,
really
John,
much older.
look, I understand. What do you show on LinkedIn? For dates?
I'm sorry?
What do you show on LinkedIn for dates?
I mean, the same thing that I show on my, the same thing I show on my resume, I think. I don't think I have
Well, but
college dates on it.
LinkedIn, you have to show dates. So how far back do you go?
I go back all the jobs.
You go back to all the jobs, right?
Yeah.
And what do you have?
I might have the dates there, but it's hard
Ah,
to look.
take a look. Bear in mind that if I'm a recruiter or I'm a company looking into you, I'm going to check out your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have dates down there, John?
I do not have dates on my college graduation.
Okay.
I have my dates on my MBA.
Uh-huh.
And the companies, though, if you go back to the beginning, let's see, I do have all those dates.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So now I just found out how old you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Now how long did that take? You just showed me. Okay. And look, it's up to you. And I understand what you're saying, John. Okay.
Yep.
But I look at it, I have a different take on it. Okay.
Right.
Because as I said before, I do not want to work for a company where I feel they're going to discriminate against me because of my age. Okay, I don't want to do that. That's not me. Okay, and if they do discriminate, okay, and I fool them to interview me because I don't have the dates on my resume. What did I do? I spent all this time preparing for that interview. I then, when we used to go physically, we had to go there physically. I had to spend time going there physically. I then had to spend time with them during the interview process, okay? And if they discriminate against me because of my age, it's for naught, okay? It's for naught, and I spent all this time. Now, if a company is not going to discriminate against me, let's say they're not, okay? And all of a sudden they look at this as no dates, but then you got to fill out an application, okay? Now there's a credibility issue, all right? So it's what you want, the way you feel is okay. Either way, whatever you want, okay? I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of the reader, because I have interviewed many people. And the first thing that I do, I can tell you, the first thing that I do when I look at something, when I look at the bottom and I see education and there's no date, and then I see the first job, and some people don't include, you know, the last 10 years or so. They have the first date of their last job, and I look at it and say, gee, this is pretty interesting. I go in and I check LinkedIn. Okay, and then I look for discrepancies. If there's a discrepancy, I said, okay, this person's hiding something. What else has this person hid? I will tell you another instance to just give you a further, you know, look from a reader's standpoint. I've had sometimes in my positions that I've held, I've held different C-suite positions. I have been, I've had HR report to me, and I've had other times when HR didn't report to me. But many times I've had people in the organization, I seem to be the last person to interview somebody, just as a courtesy, so to speak, okay? John, I'll give you my last experience. John came into me, John, the Vice President of Operations, and he was interviewing someone for the general manager of one of our plants. And he comes in and he says to me, Marty, listen, I'd like you to, interview this guy. We're all set. We want to bring him on board in a couple of weeks. He's interviewed with a bunch of people. I just, give you the courtesy. We just spend with him like 10 minutes. I said, sure, John, you got his resume? John gives me his resume. He said, bring him in. Okay. I looked over the resume in 5 minutes. The guy came in. I started talking with him. Okay. I had him in my office for about 20 minutes. I then escorted him out and told him, John, we'll get back to him. Okay. John comes in. He said, well, what do you think? You like the guy? I said, John, we're never going to hire him. He says, why not? Well, John, do you know that he's been incarcerated? And John says, what? That's not on his resume. I said, how many people are going to put incarceration on their resume? He said, how do you know that? He told me. He told you? I said, yeah. He said, how did he tell you? I said, I looked at his resume. I saw his college graduation day. His college graduation, there was no date. And I saw the first position that he was in, had a date. And I said to him, well, tell me what you did at this company. And he told me. And I said, well, did you do anything before this company? Oh, yeah, I worked at this other organization. I said, okay. Is that when you graduated college? It was right out of college? He said, well, not really. I said, well, what happened? Well, I had a bit of a problem. Embezzlement. Okay. That happened already 3 times when I've interviewed people without dates on resumes. So I just want to pass that along. It's your choice. But from the reader's standpoint, when readers started looking at this and see that there's information missing, the antennas come up and the questions then follow. And it's just a credibility situation. So that's what I'm just saying. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm just saying in my recommendation, okay, and you could take it one way or the other, is I think you should put on your dates, okay? And if people don't want to hire you because they consider you old, it's their loss, not yours. That's just how I feel, okay? Anybody else have any questions? I don't know, it must be really nice outside because no one has any questions. Okay, well, this is what we're gonna do, everybody. Just to reiterate, on next Monday, I'm going to do in transition, what do I do now? And that's going to be on the 29th of March. On April 1st, which is not an April Fool's, the Bergen chapter will have Ellie Amdor speak about the new rules, so to speak, to the game on the job search. Ellie's really, really good. If you're not a member of Bergen, we still welcome you, sign up. And then on April 5th, mark on your calendar and sign up now. And mention to your colleagues, if they want to get to know how to, navigate the FANG website and get to be able to utilize the FANG database, which has over 37,000 other financial people who can help you when you want to go for job interviews and give you information about other organizations, come to the meeting on April 5th, because Charlotte will take you through how to do these things. I could give you one quick thing and then I'm going to let you go when it comes to the database. I was called in for an interview with a company. The name of the company was Kate's Papery. Anybody ever hear of Kate's Papery? No. Kate's Papery is one of the high-end stationery companies. It's like cranes, so to speak. And they were calling me in for an interview. And I was trying to do a lot of research and I couldn't find anything on Kate's Papery other than that they had retail stores. Okay. So I went into the FANG database and I was looking for people in the FANG database with Kate's Papery. And believe it or not, there was no one. And then what happened was I received a call about the interview that I was supposed to have to confirm the interview. And I saw across my caller ID a name of a well-known office supply company in Manhattan. A lot of people know the name of it. And I looked, I said, gee, that's kind of strange. And I had my wife call back that number. And they answered it with the name of this. It was like WB Mason, but it wasn't WB Mason. And they, gave the name. My wife said, well, I must have the wrong number. I'm trying to reach Kate's Papery. And the operator said, well, that's our sister company. I could transfer you. Okay. So then what I did, I went through the FANG database with the WB Mason company, so to speak. And I found one person who worked there. I called him up, identified myself. I said, listen, I'm just curious. Do you know anything about Kate's Papery? And he chuckled. He retired. He's a CFO. He retired. I said, what's so funny? He says, I set up that company. I said, really? And he told me the ins and outs of Kate's Papery, what I should be looking for, etc. I went for my interview. I interviewed with the head of HR, who was there for all of 2 weeks. And she started asking me questions. I answered those questions. Then I started asking her questions from what I knew. And I could see that it was deer in the headlights on her end. And then she said, gee, you know a lot about our company. I said, well, yeah, I've done my research. And she said, excuse me, I'll be right back. And she went out and she came back with the president of the company, who wanted to sit down and have a nice chat with me as to what I could do for his company, et cetera, et cetera. So that shows you how powerful our database is. So think about it. April 5th, everybody. In the meantime, before you forget, let's go down to the chat box. Click on the chat box. The last line, so to speak, which says to, the word to, T-O, go all the way over to the right, and there are 3 dots. If you hover over the 3 dots, it'll say more. Click on those 3 dots. You will now have another drop-down menu that says Save Chat. Save it. You're back in the regular chat box now, and if you quickly click on that green bar that says Show in Folder, it will show you where on your computer, you saved your chat. And the chat has everything that went through the chat with the identification of everyone here. Okay. This way you could use that, contact different people, extend your network, get to know people. I will probably tomorrow or the next day be sending out the list of people who were on the call today. Also, I will send out the slides. And I want to thank you all for participating today, for being here. I wish you all luck in your search. I'm here to help you if you need me. Okay, I'm more than happy to help you. I have a big network and I know how to help people find the positions they want. Take advantage of me. The market is very active right now, as you could tell. Okay, a lot of people are landing, which is very, very good. But still you need strategies and you have to do things the right way. So think about that. And as Roy Rogers used to say when I was a kid to watch his TV show, as he would, gallop off in the dust with his wife, Dale Evans. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. Take care.